Every time I hear about the life of William Shakespeare, the Globe Theatre is always brought up. I know how the stage and viewing sections were set up, and that there was a fire that burned down the original Globe Theatre, but not much else. Because my major in college is engineering, learning more about how the Globe was built as well as other facts about it interested me. Don't worry, I'm not going to go super into detail about the exact technical aspects of the creation of the Globe, but more about how it became so famous. This video is a compilation of many of my findings. First things first, there is actually 3 renditions of the Globe Theatre as well as other replicas constructed around the world to pay homage to the original theatre. The original Globe Theatre was built in 1599 on the south bank of the Thames River in an area now known as Bankside. It was one of several major theatres located in the area, the others being the Swan, the Rose, and the Hope. The Globe was the principal playhouse of the Lord Chamberlain's men, later called the King's Men, to which Shakespeare belonged. This theatre was destroyed by fire on June 29, 1613, during a performance of Henry VIII. A theatrical cannon set off during the performance misfired, igniting the building's roof's thatching and wooden beams. According to one of the few surviving contemporary accounts of the event, no one was hurt except a man who put out his burning breeches with a bottle of ale. Interesting. The Globe Theatre was reconstructed by June 1614, but closed by 1642 because the Puritan government closed all London theatres based on moral grounds. A modern reconstruction of the original Globe opened in 1997 and is still around today. Today we're going to be focusing mostly on the original Globe Theatre, as it was the principal playhouse of the playing company to which Shakespeare belonged. The Globe was owned collectively by the actors. 2 of the 6 Globe shareholders, Richard Burbage and his brother Cuthbert Burbage, owned double shares of the whole, which is 25% each, so obviously they owned 50%, just the 2 of them. And then the other 4 men, Shakespeare, John Hemmings, Augustine Phillips, and Thomas Pope, owned a single share each, which is 12.5%. These initial proportions changed over time as new shareholders were added. Shakespeare's share diminished to roughly 7% over the course of his career. The Globe was built using wood from an earlier theatre that had been built by Richard Burbage's father in 1576, called simply The Theatre. The structure was dismantled after a 20-year lease on its land expired, and the lumber was then transported over the Thames River to construct the Globe.
We're standing in front of Shakespeare's Globe, a modern reconstruction near the site of Shakespeare's own Globe Theatre, built in 1599. And this reconstruction is the best way, really, of getting a sense of what Shakespeare's actual theatrical practice of his own time would have been like. It's an open-air theatre in the round. It accommodated up to about 3,000 spectators crowded in, most of them standing in front of the stage. There was a trestle stage that thrust out into the crowd surrounded it, and then there were galleries. So you paid a penny to get into this theater. The money was put in a box. That's why we have the term box office. And then if you had the money and you had another penny, you could get out of the sun, or out of the rain at least as often, and pay to be in one of the gallery places where there was at least a little roof over your head. If you had another penny, you could get a chair with a cushion, and if you had a lot of money, 6pence at the time, that's a substantial amount of money, you could get one of the seats behind the stage or possibly even on the stage that were terrible from the point of view of seeing the play, but were great in terms of having people see the beautiful clothes that you were wearing, which evidently was an important part of the experience of the theater in Shakespeare's time.
The Globe Theatre was highly successful. Since there was little artificial light, performances were held in daylight in the afternoon, usually beginning in May. Flags waving in the wind advertised plays by the King's Company, and all about the grounds playgoers would be buying merchandise and refreshments out of stalls. People from all walks of life in Elizabethan London would enjoy the tragedies and comedies by the era's greatest playwright, William Shakespeare. Equally popular for the Globe theater goer was seeing everyone else at the play. Men and women would attend plays, but a lot of the upper class would wear masks to hide their identity. The lower classes, or commoners, known as groundlings or stinkards, would have stood in the theater pit and paid 1 penny to see the play. Groundlings most likely ate hazelnuts during performances. Although this may seem weird, we know this because during the excavation of the Globe, nutshells were found preserved in the dirt of the pit, as well as orange peels. Around the yard were 3 levels of stadium-style seating, which were more expensive than the standing room. Now we will talk more about the layout of the globe and the stage itself. The globe's actual dimensions are unknown, but its shape and size has been approximated by scholars over the last 2 centuries. The evidence suggests that it is a 3-story, open-aired theater between 97 and 102 feet in diameter that could house up to 3,000 spectators. The globe is shown as round in old sketches of the building. However, in 1997, the uncovering of a small part of the globe's foundation suggested that it actually may have been a polygon with 20 or 18 sides. A rectangular stage platform, also known as an apron stage, thrust out into the middle of the open-air yard. The stage measured approximately 43 feet in width, 27 feet in length, and was raised about 5 feet off the ground, which would be like the pit. On this stage, there was a trap door for use by performers to enter from the cellar area beneath the stage. There may have also been other trapdoors around the stage as well. Large columns on either side of the stage supported a roof over the rear portion of the stage. The ceiling under this roof was called the heavens, and may have been painted with clouds and the sky. A trapdoor in the heavens enabled performers to descend using some sort of rope or harness. The back wall of the stage had 2 or 3 doors on the main level, with a curtained inner stage in the center and a balcony above it. The doors entered into the tiring room, which is the same as a backstage area as we call it nowadays, where the actors dressed up and awaited their entrances. The balcony housed the musicians and could be used for scenes requiring an upper space, such as the balcony scene in Romeo and Juliet. As I said before, the original globe only made it to 1613 before the terrible cannon accident set the entire Globe Theater on fire. Then a second globe was built to just be a recreation of the first, but then sadly, like all the other theaters in London, the Globe too was closed down by the Puritan government in 1642. In 1644, it was destroyed to make room for tenement homes. Its exact location remained unknown until remnants of its foundation were discovered in 1989 beneath a parking garage.
I think what really excited Sam about the Globe is that in Shakespeare's time, theatre was popular. It was for everybody. And I think he felt that theatre had become rather elitist, and especially Shakespeare. And he was excited by exploring how the architecture of the Globe, this wooden O, would bring actors and audiences together in a crowd-like, exciting way that wasn't happening in theatre at that time.
The reconstructed globe has taught us a great deal about Shakespeare in performance by reconstructing the architectural conditions in which his plays were originally written. We've learned so much about the way in which the vertical structure of the playhouse impacts upon performance. The actor has to look up, the actor's face has to work extra hard, the actor's body feels almost, we've been told by actors here, as though they've been playing in a football match.
One of the unique things about seeing the play at the Globe is that Shakespeare makes sense in here. There's something about the way people congregate in here that makes everybody more intelligent. They all raise each other's game. They all search every line, every half line for something funny, something beautiful, something sad, something lyrical, whatever. And they do it as a collective act. And that sheer mental energy coming off 1,500 people makes the plays much more clear.
I think it shed light most of all on the importance of the audience and how much, if you like, the audience is a character in the plays, a constantly shifting, changing character that changes from day to day, from evening to matinee, so the play is never the same twice. It's in a crowd that stands up. That has a very different energy than an audience that's sitting, rooted to their seats. So this atmosphere of a crowd, of like a crowd at a game, is what the Globe has done for Shakespeare, I think.